So I created a book cover for my unit on making inferences and reading between the lines, and I decided to use this picture, which depicts New York buildings, but you really can't see that in terms of this perspective. So I'll be asking the students questions like, what sort of perspectives, or what sort of perspective is the cameraman taking with us? What can you deduce from this angle? How do you know that you're looking at whatever you think that you're looking at? What do you think is happening behind those windows? Those types of things. I also created a thing link for the learning development plans that I need to have in place for my ESL students. This thing link describes for teachers whether the student is an immigrant or a refugee and what that means and why it's important to know. It gives them some information about the cultural background, whether students are individualistic or more collectivistic. That's really important to know in terms of grouping and how comfortable students feel when they're placed in groups, or if they'd prefer to work alone, especially for religious reasons or cultural reasons, boy-girl interaction, those types of things. It gives information about the language distance, how close the student's language is to English, which gives some insight as to how easy or difficult it is for the student to pick up on the language. The social distance, which represents how well learners become members of the target language community, which is based on social dominance, integration pattern, enclosure, cohesiveness, size, cultural congruence, attitude, and a learner's intended length of residence. Usually it's much easier for students such as Spanish-speaking students to integrate within their new environment. However, sometimes they do speak more Spanish than English because the opportunity is there, versus others who are really forced to learn the English language. There is a second page that gives some information about listening and speaking from the access scores. It also gives them some insight onto literacy. And then there's a third and fourth page that gives the standards and then also tells what sort of strategies are good for the student in order to support them for their learning.